everybody, Courtney here today to kind of do like a Sunday chat with you about what's going on in my life and to say thank you for being here. I wanted to quickly just take a moment because many of you have asked me to do certain things, and I want to tell you why I'm not able to do some of those things. First of all, I am not monetized, meaning I do not get paid on any of my YouTube or anything like that. I have chosen not to monetize a lot of things that I've done, and also I just have not had good luck learning to edit and cut and splice videos. I have used different software. I've had a lot of trouble with my phone and with downloading and things like that, with things being compatible. And honestly, the cost per time that it takes for me to build something like that. My husband and I have a business, and we have two businesses. We did have three. Technically, we have three, but one is kind of not working right now. I'm not working right now. And it's just not cost effective for me to try to learn editing, and I'm just not that good at it. Also, I didn't invent the wheel, and there are a lot of people out there that do a great job at some of the things you've asked me for. So I'm going to share some of their links below. As far as vegan food hauls and cooking for cheap, I do the same exact thing as Under the Median and Flourishing Miranda. I cook exactly like they do. So Miranda is a friend of mine via YouTube. I run a vegan plant-based group on Facebook. I do not make money at that. These are hobbies for me. So I'm gonna leave it at that and just say, for now, unless something changes and I learn to edit really well, I'm just gonna leave you some contacts. Okay, now let's go on to what's been going on with the low spend, no spend. And I've just been kind of following what I'm doing and kind of letting you guys know. So I've been on the no buy, low buy, and last Friday, here are some things that I did. So I found out that if I was to take in my tax ID number, I could get a discount on water bottles that I purchased for our Airbnb. They are kind of souvenir type water bottles, and I took that in there. I went to the library. That's something I do that's frugal. I picked up a book, dropped off a book. I went by the boutique. I had a $35 gift card there because my mom gave it to me for Christmas, and I had sold a bunch of clothes, so I had almost over $100 worth of credit. I got a brand new bathing suit. It would have cost me $10, but it didn't cost me anything, and it was a very high-end $120 bathing suit, and it was marked down to $10. So I didn't have to pay anything. I got a boutique style shirt there and a pair of joggers. All in all, I used $30 of my credit. So I was able to get clothes. It didn't cost me anything. The other thing I did was I went by and, I made a return. So I'm very careful if something doesn't work for me to promptly return it. That gave me, I had purchased that with a credit that I had purchased a bathing suit with an Amazon gift card that I had, and I got that credit back, and I used that money to buy this book. So this is called Things That Matter. I had been wanting it, by Joshua Becker. Highly recommend. And while I'm on that subject, I had another credit that I purchased the book called Plant-Based on a Budget. It's the new Quick and Easy. So for those of you asking me for recipes for plant-based meals, Plant-Based on a Budget, there are two books. She just came out with a new one, and they are fantastic. Nothing in there is something you can't find at any grocery store, Walmart, Kroger, anywhere. It's not like you don't have to go to Whole Foods. And all of those recipes are like $2 to $3 a serving or less. And the meals are fantastic. I love it. I don't use a lot of oil, so I usually substitute water for oil when I'm sauteing, but works great. Another book I want to recommend on Amazon, I know this is probably backwards the way it just flipped, but Living on Almost Nothing. If any of you watch Prepper Princess, I love her. Amber Stork. This book is $8 on Amazon, and she self-publishes. All this money goes to help animals that have been rescued. I live this life just like her. I have so much in common with her. I inherited a house with a mortgage, just like she did when I was younger. So I didn't have to put my first house, so I didn't have to put a down payment down on it. But I did have to pay my mother her portion of it. My grandparents passed away. My grandparents raised my mother and I like sisters. And I paid my mother her portion out of my small inheritance. It was like $14,000 a year for 4 years. I'm not going to go into the details. I inherited like $48,000 over a 4-year period. I took that money and I put it into the house. And when I sold the house, I made a profit a few years later. Amber and I did the same thing. A lot of people, when I was on the podcast, Bigger Pockets Money, kind of tore me apart, like, oh, you're so privileged. But someone said something to me that really made me feel good. And because it hurt my feelings, because how many people get some kind of, not necessarily an inheritance, but maybe they get like a big tax return or an inheritance or for some chunk of money and they waste it. And I made very good use of that money. I actually was able to leave my job and stay home and raise my children, put my ex-husband, help supplement him going to college. I did go back to work after 2 years, but I had that money and I was able to get us out of poverty to do that. And that really set the trajectory for my life. And how many people will get some little chunk of money and they'll go blow it and they don't use it. So anyway, Amber and I have a lot in common, and I just love her books and I love her to pieces because I love authentic people who are just themselves. Even if I don't agree with them 100%, I love it when people, they don't try to pretend to be something they're not. So I told you about the clothes and the bathing suit. I haven't told you about the staining plan. So we have a cabin. We have 2 cabins that we built. I did not intend to ever be a short-term rental. I didn't want to be a landlord. I did not plan on building another house, and we ended up building a house. We purchased this farm with a little house on it. When we got to be remodeling it, we discovered there were all kinds of problems, and we had to build a house. So we have cypress on our house. It was supposed to never have to be stained, and we ended up having to stain it because the people who sold it to us, the cypress, misinformed us about some stuff, and we were going to paint it. And the cost to paint it was $9,000 for our house and the little cabin. We drove around yesterday, and my point to all of this is always do your homework. Always take your time, pause, don't make rash decisions, and do your homework. We drove around, we looked at a bunch of different houses that had been painted, board and batten, cabins type style houses. So that meant we went to a lot of the state parks and the lake areas around here. And we decided that what we really wanted to do was strip off the stain and put new stain on it, wood stain on it, like we had intended in the first place. The quote was $9,000. So my husband, his brother, and our neighbor are going to do it. They all have experience doing this, and it's going to save us about $5,000 to $6,000 to do it ourselves and pay those 2 guys to help him. My husband has a bunch of vacation time, and he's going to take a week off to do it himself. So that, after looking at everything and looking at paint and doing our research and studying on how long the paint would last versus the stain and all of that, we just decided to go with the stain and do it ourselves. If it doesn't work out, we can still paint it down the road. But for now, we just decided to do that. So that's saving us a ton of money. The other thing I did, I talked about this last week, but I had to make some plans, is when I travel, and I end up traveling quite a bit for family usually. I have 1 child in Colorado, one 4 hours away in Northwest Arkansas, and 2 here, is I make sure to set a budget every time I travel. So if it's mine and my husband traveling together and we're going to stay at an Airbnb, it might be $400 for the weekend, because by the time you pay the base rate, the taxes, and the fees, it's usually quite a bit more. And that's if I want a house. Well, I have to take my son for some dental surgery, so I decided that I didn't want to spend over $200, and I found a hotel for $189 for 2 nights. I got a great deal on it with a cancellation fee. No cancellation fee as long as I cancel the day before. So felt really good about that, but that's just one thing I do. With rental cars, with hotels, with Airbnbs, I spend time. I do my research. I comparison shop. I take my time as much as possible, and I always set a budget. Because I own an Airbnb, I know that everybody sets their own price. We are probably underpriced for our area, but I kind of like providing that service at that price. And it's really up to the Airbnb host as to what they charge. We're $115 a night with a $50 cleaning fee. That's what we pay when we do pay someone to clean it. And I probably need to go up on that. But I want people to be able to come and stay here for under $300 for 2 nights. I may go up a little bit because we are pretty booked when I keep it open. But I always take my time and look for the deals, but there's a certain level of quality I want for the price I'm going to pay. And right now, that's anywhere from $100 a night for a single, $200 a night if we're traveling as a couple. All right, and the last thing I did was we put everything on a credit card. With the exception of about, $1,000 a month that is part of our IRA, and everything else we spend, and I'm including the IRA in this, we live on about $48,000 a year, and everything else is saved that we make. And we were living on about 33 when we got married, and with time and cost and everything and becoming a 2-person household, we did have kids at home, prices have gone up. We're about 48, plus the taxes and insurance are really expensive out here. And I looked at our credit cards and I decided to cut the amount that we spend by at least 20%. I had really wanted to do more than that, but after watching Under the Median, I started to realize that that may be too restrictive and may feel like I might feel defeated. So I decided to do at least 20%. So far, I'm down 33% on my spending, but I've been just very careful at thinking about, I told you all I'm on a low spend, so I'm just very mindful. I've been doing Under the Median. I'm going to put her stuff down below, her and her husband, Larry. So it's Faith and Larry. They're great. I've been following kind of what she teaches about grocery shopping and things like that. And it's kind of like reverse meal planning, which means you go and you buy what's on sale and then you plan your meals from there. And if you're a cook, it's pretty easy to do that. That's how I cook anyway. So people tell me to do food hauls. I'm like, I don't have a menu plan. I do that sometimes. I do meal plan, but it's usually I go through the pantry and see what we have and see what we need. But I'm trying the reverse meal planning right now, which is, okay, cabbage and potatoes are on sale, so we're eating cabbage and potatoes this week. I went through all of the clearance items at Kroger and stocked up on what I use, even if I didn't necessarily need it. And right now, we were spending around $10 to $11 or $9 to $11 a day. You should say $10 a person per day on food. And I've gotten that down to about $6 a person on food at this time. I've also been careful to look at things like the cost of dog food, finding what we need versus and what is acceptable and still the same quality for my dogs. I had been getting really expensive dog food because my dogs had special needs. And then this big thing came out that I shouldn't be using that type of dog food because some of the fillers in it weren't good. And I should go back to this one I used to be using that was a lot cheaper. So you never know, right? Research, planning, just constantly trying to learn new things. Another thing I do is, so I'm trying to cut our budget from $36,000 on the credit cards every year. I know that sounds like a lot, but I pay it monthly. Everything goes on there. I hardly ever use cash. $3,000 a month down to right now, I'm sitting at $1,171 and I only have 10 days left. So quite a lot less. I really want it to be around $1,800 a month. And that's going to help us tremendously. When I was working the last couple years through the pandemic, I was only making about $20,000 a year after taxes and all my expenses. I was breaking home about $1,000 a month. Just not worth it at all. I plan everything. I plan to stay home. I plan when I'm going to go to town. I plan my routes. I plan what I think I'm going to have to spend. That planning prevents a lot of excess spending. My husband asked me if I wanted to go with him to look at some jobs today. I said no, because I have a plan to read today. I have a plan to do yoga, and I have a plan to walk on my treadmill and watch videos. I have a plan to cook dinner from scratch. Doing things like that, planning things out, living intentionally, it allows me, if I don't leave the house, I'm far less likely to spend that money. I also went through and looked at all the produce that we had, all the perishables, and I decided to make dinner based on what was perishable. So that also saves us money. So this has just been a Sunday chat, and I will link below people that I watch that do things that you've asked me to do, like food hauls and how I grocery shop and things like that, because I eat exactly like these two families eat. So it's Flourishing Miranda and Under the Median. They are both fantastic. I am not getting paid for any of this content, but they do, and I love supporting them because Miranda gives back to the homeless, and I know that Faith and Larry, they just do so much in the way that they help people with the information that they have. We're all vegan, and I am ethical vegan, and I am plant-based for health reasons, and they have their own reasons too. I'm not here to try to be the martyr for veganism, but if you want to eat healthier, these are great ways to do it. So, all right, thank you very much. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.